In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Erin, and she's sailing over as the Senior VP of Marketing over at B12. And at B12, they're all about professional websites, making it actually much easier to build and get the result of a professional website. We all know, typically, website projects takes way longer than expected. So the team is here to support and help and get you guys two great products. Good results for your website in the end, much faster. So, Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so, we got marketers listening in. If they haven't heard about B12 yet, maybe give us, a 360 overview. What is it all about?
Yeah, of course. So B12 does exactly what you kind of highlighted at the top here. It helps specifically professional service providers, that's kind of the group or the industries that we're focused on, build websites that are equipped with all the tools that they need to attract, win, and serve their customers online. And so, one of our philosophies at B12 is that, and the reality really is that people do their research and shopping online. And so if you're a professional service provider, you need to meet your customers where they are. And that means having a really professional, modern looking website that's equipped with all of the things that they need in order to engage with you in an online and digital way. And so we help those professional service providers build websites that will do just that, to make it easier for them to get leads, to engage with their clients, and really just to manage their business operations in a way that is less time consuming.
Very clear, very easy understood. Maybe if you could tell me, you mentioned professional services, is there certain industry, certain size of businesses, if people are listening in and sort of self-identify, what's a typical customer company that is suiting really well sort of what B12 is offering?
Yeah, great question. Because professional services is kind of a broad umbrella. Specifically, we're thinking about, in the professional services space, it is really anybody that charges for their time or expertise. But our kind of ideal customer profiles are those people who have these professional designations and are really charging for their expertise, but in, I would say probably more along the lines of a business sense. So think lawyers, accountants, mortgage brokers, insurance brokers, architects, those types of kind of designations, those types of firms. In terms of size, we're not going after kind of the big, conglomerates out there that are doing those types of roles or in those industries. We're really going for those folks who are between the 2 and 25 person companies. So the ones that, probably don't have an in-house marketing team or don't have an in-house web design or web developer to be able to lean on, they really need a service like ours to be able to help them with that.
Super good. Now, okay, when we got those folks, right, they're learning about B12. How do they learn about B12? What would you say? Very often, maybe even some of those businesses are very offline driven. How do they find you guys?
Yeah, another great question. So we've been really fortunate and really blessed in the sense that we have a pretty robust content library, and a lot of the articles that we've written and a lot of the topics that we cover are aligned to things that businesses of that size and in those industries really care about, and they're SEO optimized. So we do get a lot of inbound traffic from long tail search terms. And that's really where people kind of discover B12 and learn about who we are and who we serve and kind of some of the benefits that we offer. From there, we oftentimes then see people repeat back to our website and convert from our homepage or from other kind of lower funnel pages on our site. And it's really that kind of between long tail keyword and then just direct inbound motion that we see most of our leads come in.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, and I love to ask this question to you because obviously websites are core to what you guys are doing. How do you personally think about the B12 website? Where do you see strengths? Where do you see room for improvement? What do you want to see moving forward as a marketer for the page?
I think I think the B12 website does a really good job in the sense of, outlining some of the features and the functions that our product has. I think that, there's always opportunity, even in the best websites, to continue to massage the narrative on them, to tell a story and really try to make that emotional connection with the visitor. It's one thing to talk about, hey, our product does this and our features do that. It's another thing to orient the messaging around the pain points that we know our customers are feeling and really make sure that we're hitting on those needs when we're asking them to exchange information with us. And it is an exchange. We're asking them for something. We're asking them for their time, their contact information. We're asking them to make themselves vulnerable to be followed up with, with our team. And so it's really important to build that trust through the website and to make sure that when somebody lands on our site, they get that we get them. And I think that there's always opportunity, again, even with the best websites, to continue to enhance that and to continue to just like use your web properties to demonstrate deep customer empathy and understanding.
Super interesting. Over the years, you've been in many different marketing roles. You've been driving growth for various companies. I'm curious, is there something, now that we were talking about the website, is there something that you've been learning when it comes to, converting visitors on the website into sort of leads and demos and the likes? Is there something that you've learned? Any methods, approaches, technologies, but maybe just like, ways of thinking that, help to drive conversions?
I would say, it's kind of a macro learning, I guess, but I would say patience. It's one thing to try to immediately ask for somebody to be able to want to have a demo with you and, for your team to be able to get in touch and try to make the sale. But the reality is like, it's a dance and you've got to, as I said, you've got to build that trust. And so you do have to exercise a bit of patience. And I think, really the best brands and the best companies meet the customer where they're at. Again, do that value exchange with them and are patient and won't ask for too much too soon. And I think that customers these days are skeptical, jaded, just a little bit exhausted, to be honest, with aggressive, tactics and marketing initiatives. And so they appreciate that, when you give something back, when you can be a little bit altruistic and give away that free resource or give away that free ebook or just ask for very little in return, that's when people will talk about you. They'll share those materials and you end up with more of, I would say, like a flywheel motion instead of a funnel motion. And I think that is really, if you can get people talking about you and you can get them happy with your brand because you're doing that value exchange, that's invaluable. Like it's priceless.
That makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate you sort of, sharing a little bit on the B12 story. Sort of, we talked about the product, we talked about growth. How are you thinking about growth, the channels? I would love to sort of learn a little bit more about yourself as a marketer. So, where do you personally, with all the noise out there, there's so much content for marketers, where do you personally like to educate yourself, read? What's your go-to, maybe peer groups, podcasts, books? I don't know what it is. Maybe share a little bit where you get good quality insights.
That's a great question. I do a lot of reading. I tend to be more of a reader than, necessarily watching videos. I will listen to the odd podcast, but I haven't in a little while. But in terms of reading, it's the usual suspects. I like to read blogs from other companies that I think are doing really interesting things. I also like to, read typical, business articles like in a Forbes or Fast Company or Wired or some of those other publications. I think that oftentimes, they'll have a pretty more in-depth take, I guess, on certain things that hopefully is somewhat unbiased. So definitely do like a lot of reading. And I would say also it's really great to just tap into like peer groups. I have like a decent network of either past colleagues or past leaders, mentors, et cetera. And so I am like more than willing to raise my hand and ask them for advice, help, guidance, what are they doing right now? What are the trends that they're hearing, et cetera. Marketing is a pretty tight-knit community, I would say, even though it's, there's so many different types of marketers and it's such a big, function in business. But I would say that, marketers have each other's backs and like to share information. We're very forthcoming with advice and guidance.
Very cool. I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today's interview. Are you ready for those?
Yes.
What is the last book you read or the book that you would recommend marketers should read?
Ooh, Start with Why. I really like that book. It's more probably maybe of a management leadership, skew. But I think the fundamental principles, especially when you're thinking about things like product marketing, apply. And I think like you always have to get to the root cause and like the root problem of something in order to be able to solve it.
What's one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
We want to grow. We have a great product and we have really happy customers. And we want to be able to harness that and be able to just spread the word about what we do to help other small businesses and make sure that they can be successful.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, for your role as a marketer, what's the one thing that you would fix?
No boundaries in technology. I don't know if it's technology, but I think just being able to find the time and find the resources to interact and have more one-on-one conversations with customers. I think that people are a little bit time strapped and it's difficult to do that at scale. So trying to find a way to do that at scale to really get into the like headspace and the mindset of customers so that you get a sense of what they're thinking when they're seeing your product and when they're, considering it. And then obviously when they make that purchase.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
I think the economy, we're in an interesting spot right now in terms of the macroeconomic trends. And I think that's going to trickle down to small businesses. And I don't know how that's going to change things for them. And I think there's a huge opportunity for companies like us to be in their corner and to be able to help and support them. But just trying to figure out the best way to do that in the way that they need right now.
For the very last question, I'd like to do a little bit of time travel. Let's go back to the days of Ryerson University.
Wow, okay.
Now you're heading out of formal education into the world of, business and growth. And what would be the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
Ask lots of questions. I think early on in my career, it's very easy to make assumptions. And I think that you feel like you know everything, especially when you're a new grad. I would say like be humble and ask lots of questions. And there's no such thing as a stupid question, because if you've got it, somebody else probably has it. And it just, at the end of the day, if you're curious and you're naturally inquisitive, it makes you such a better marketer.
Very, very good, Erin. I appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathmark Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about B12, what's the one thing that people should remember?
I think people should remember that, if you're a small service provider, there are companies like B12 out there that are in your corner and that will make sure that you're equipped with the tools in order to be able to thrive as a business. And that's not just, having a good website that's got a bunch of features. It's also, backing it with a team of experts who can help with the web design, the creative, all of that good stuff in order to take one more thing off your plate.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Thank you.